Do you struggle to produce top-notch, excellent video content every single week? How about every single day? I mean, how are you going to compete with other streamers who are producing this amazing daily content? Well, today our guest is going to share his tips on creating amazing content with even more amazing consistency, and we're just gonna get started. Stay tuned, folks. It's BeLive Weekly.
You're watching BeLive Weekly with Owen Video, where entrepreneurs give the latest tips, tricks, and tactics for Facebook live streaming. Join us live every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or type 5 into the comments now to subscribe to the show. Now your host, Owen Video.
Welcome back to BeLive Weekly. This is the only show on Facebook Live where we teach you the expert tips, tricks, and tactics to grow your Facebook Live show. And you can give me 5. That's right. Just type 5 in the comment section right now to subscribe to the show. We'll be sure to send you an alert every single week when we go live, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. If you're on the East Coast, you're probably feeling that midday lull, right? That post-lunch, not yet time to cut out lull. Folks, I am your cup of coffee. I am the caffeine machine that you have been dreaming about. So stay tuned. Tap on the screen. Come on into the show. We have a fantastic guest today. Our guest today is a YouTuber, a speaker, and a business coach. His name is Sean Cannell. But before we bring Sean on the show, we want to give a big shout out to the Live Video Gear Guide. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The show today is brought to you by the LivestreamGearGuide.com. Grab it today if you want to improve the look, the quality, the feel of your live stream show. Go to livestreamgearguide.com and you'll get a list of the top and the most affordable gear for starting a Facebook or YouTube live stream. Lots of really great stuff in that book there. So check it out when you get a chance. Guys, I'm so glad to have you on the show. Is my producer Jax there? Jackson, are you there?
I am, Owen. I'm right here.
The timing was excellent. Hey, great to have you on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my producer, Jason Jackson. He really does an amazing, no, it's amazing. It's amazing what you do. Guys, Jason and I have actually worked together for a long time, but Jason prepares the script for the show. He books the guests for the show. He sets up the BeLive. He writes the Facebook copy, like all of it's there. So I wanted to bring you on and just say, excellent looking backdrop, my friend. You've really taken some steps up.
Well, thank you, Owen. I owe it all to you, actually, and your courses. Watching your course, I learned that it's really important to have a nice backdrop. So I had this wood painted on my wall. Then I had some blue painted up there, threw some shelves up, and my guitars are hanging. So I'm really digging it.
I love the sign in the back, too. Love is the music of the soul.
Oh, yes. I'm a musician, so it hits me right here.
Yeah, you're starting to choke me up a little bit here, Pat. You know what I mean? Well, we have a good show today. You really booked us an outstanding guest today.
You know what? I really admire Sean, and I've been following him for quite a while now. And it's crazy to have both of you together in one place.
Yeah, you know, it was funny when you mentioned that because I realized just how much of my path has been influenced by Sean when I look at just some of my own content, because it sort of like reminds me of his content. So look, we got a huge group out there today, by the way. Dan Norton is pumped for today. Cheryl Fletcher Greening saying, yes, sir. Good to see you out there, Cheryl. The Apostle Tamar MacGyver. I'm going to call you MacGyver from now on because you're crafty. I love it. And Cheryl just subscribed. Armand just subscribed. Edward just subscribed. Guys, it's so good. Oh my gosh, when you guys subscribe, I just want to, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like what we're doing is good. Because honestly, Jason, like, we're just having a good time, aren't we? Like, we're just trying to have a good time and trying to rock this show with great content. When you guys subscribe to the show, like, it makes us feel like we're doing all the right stuff. So we're glad that you guys are out there. Dan Norton says, I'm like I'm in like 90% of Sean Cannell's courses and an inner circle membership. That's awesome. That's a perfect commercial. Annette is saying, woohoo, me too. That's awesome to see. Teresa is saying almost as amazing as Owen's content, but yes, he's totally awesome. I love, that's my wife, by the way, my big smoochy boochie. So baby, thank you so much for loving on me in the comments section, and happy Mother's Day, my love. We've got a great guest for you guys today, a great show. But before we bring him on, if you're familiar with Sean Cannell's content, I want you to give me some like bombs right now. Just drop some like bombs right there in the comment section. I want to see this whole page light up because the gentleman we're about to bring on, and I'm starting to see it. Bring it in, folks. Fallon Zoe logging in. Brian White, Media Zeus, is logging in. So glad you guys are out there today. Hey, our guest today has just got a phenomenal track record. Sean Cannell is a YouTuber. He's an international speaker, and he's a business coach who built a 7-figure media company. 7 figures, folks, helping entrepreneurs and creatives build their influence and their income with online video. Sean's YouTube channels have over 800,000 subscribers. That's more than the news, folks. His videos have been viewed over 43 million times, and he's been featured as one of the 20 must-watch YouTube channels that will change your business by Forbes. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my friend, Sean Cannell.
Hey, we're here. I'm pumped. Owen, how's it going?
It feels like just yesterday we were hanging out, embracing each other in the desert. There's a story behind that, folks, before you get all freaked out. So good to have you on the show. I love everything that you're doing, but just in case there's a couple people out there that have maybe not heard of you before, give us the snapshot of what you're doing and the bigger picture of who Sean Cannell is.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks again for having me on. And for those that maybe haven't met me before, I got started doing video back in 2003 in my local church before YouTube even started. So before social media started happening, 2003, over 15 years ago. And I always like to say your first videos are your worst videos because my early stuff was terrible. And it takes a while, right? But I was able to start learning how to be consistent. And the first YouTube channel I ever launched was my church's YouTube channel in 2007, trying to figure out how to do titles and thumbnails, still having no clue of what's going on. But eventually fast forward to today, after building, really being able to quit my day job because of YouTube and affiliate marketing, was able to build that up and then eventually scale it into expanding into what we do now with kind of a team and a lot of digital products and coaching. And we have a live event coming on. So just been over the years. But these days, some people, if we have met, might see us as somewhat successful in this space. But I like to say, overnight success takes 10 to 20 years. Right. And so we've been in the trenches, for a while. And just lately, it's been cool to see some of the impact that we've been having, and super pumped to be connecting with this community right here. What's up, Dan? Good to see you. And everybody watching either live or on the replay.
I love seeing the crossover, because we're kind of, on BeLive.tv, we're really focused on the Facebook live streamer, and live streaming is a big part of the video marketing game, the online video game. It's hard to find someone that does one but not the other. And I love, crossing these bridges where we're bringing on someone who's a very popular YouTuber, 800,000 subscribers across, 3 different channels?
That'd just be the 2. I think Media and Video Influencers is over 800. Yeah.
Two channels with almost 1 million subscribers, and one's got over 500,000 alone. And so we're bringing in sort of a YouTube expert to talk about consistency, creating great content. And these are things that I've noticed about you since the very, very beginning, is that Sean Cannell had a video every single week, on time, every time. And I think that our audience would love to hear about your secrets, your tips, your productivity hacks for making that happen. Guys, if you have questions for Sean, punch them into the comment section. My producer, Jax, is going to do his job of finding the questions. We're going to ask them to Sean as we get through the show. We've got about 30, 40 minutes today, so I'm very excited that you're spending this much time with us today, and we hope that you guys all get a chance to sort of ask your question. Rob Charles is logging in from the UK. Great to see you out there. Really a great group today. Sean, let's jump in. Just last week, you and I were at ClammerCon, and Jason, if you want to throw a couple of those images up, talk a little bit about what ClammerCon is and what we did there.
Yeah, ClammerCon is an influencer only industry event. And so there's a lot of great kind of online video conferences, Playlist Live, Vid Summit, VidCon, Video Marketing World, lots of social media marketing world type business ones. ClammerCon is an influencer only event. So anybody who's kind of fans and followers doesn't come to that. It's a chance to really connect with other people that are really making a living off of online video, plus a lot of brands and sponsors. So I believe around 600 to 700 influencers, as well as some of their teams or their families, came into Palm Springs to learn, to connect with each other, as well as to hear some updates from industry experts, and then to connect with brands as well.
Now, we had a great time there. In fact, guys, let me show you something. I got this from one of the brands that was there, right? They were just literally handing this stuff out. I want you guys to know there's 100 darts in here. And anyone not leaving us a heart or thumbs up, you might get a dart in the back at the next conference. Hey-o! Just letting you know. Sean, is it important to be an influencer? People are talking a lot of smack on influencers these days. Is that an important thing to be?
I don't know if it's important to be an influencer, although I think it is important to build your influence. In fact, can you see that?
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. I love that.
And I think that the influencer thing, I'm not a huge fan of the term. I mean, it's half the name of one of our brands, video influencers. I think it has more to do with just a term to put understanding around a topic. But the thing is this, I mean, I think influence is one of the most important things ever. One of my mentors through his books is John Maxwell. He writes a lot of leadership books, but the way he defines leadership is he says leadership is simply influence. If you're going to be a leader, that means inherently someone is actually following you. For someone to be following you, paying attention to what you're doing, that means they have influence in your life. If someone gives you life advice, unsolicited, most of us don't take it. We're like, that's rude. But if your maybe parents call you or somebody that's a family member and they say something, they have influence in your life. So in order for them to move you or give you some feedback, that means you've given them some influence. And so everybody watching, everybody on here should 100% be thinking about really being an influencer, to take it full circle. They should be, because what does that just mean? It just means you have influence of some kind. Your brand, people trust you for your products or the business or what you're putting out there. Your voice, whether that's in fitness or health or taxes or leadership or anything. So it just happens to be now that we can have influence and build our influence through Facebook Live, through bringing on guests, through BeLive software, through doing all these different things. And so it's kind of weird because I think everyone thinks of influencer, they think of just a young selfie taking pictures of their food Instagram character, and there's certainly that. But on one hand, on the other hand, all of us, I think, have to be thinking that we are influencers, because if we want someone to pay attention to whatever it is we're doing, we need influence.
Shamis Talib says, yeah, I'd rather just know what he's using and buy that. And that is exactly, I think, the role that influencers play is we help to shorten the time it takes from someone to just starting to having, influence in their network. So that's the big question everyone's asking right now. Tell us about your mic setup.
Oh, yeah. So this is a Shure MV51 microphone. And I've been loving this microphone, especially lately, because I can actually kind of turn it around here. I switched it out for a different version. I'm able to control my gain right on the mic, which is really nice. Yeah, and normally I'm on Windows, actually. So I go in, and my other one, I would have to, every time it just had issues anyway. So I have manual control. This one also is great for multi-use. You can have just voice, or you could do voice and instruments, or also just instruments. So because of the dynamics of the mic, if you were, doing a cover song or had an acoustic guitar, and then the fact you can just mute it, and a little headphone gain as well. You can plug headphones directly into it. So I love what Shure did by giving me kind of the tactile features right on the microphone itself. So anyways, that's that. And then I'm using a Logitech webcam. This is like the $50 one. So the C920.
It looks crystal clear. I'm also using the C920. That's also what Nick Nimmin uses. And phenomenal cameras. Of course, for the same price, you can get the C922, you get the C930, or even the Brio, which is the 4K version. So, guys, lots of great tools out there. Sean Cannell is our guest, and I want to just put this to rest. Cannell or Cannell?
Cannell, you got it. It's Cannell.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, no mistakes are ever made here on BeLive Weekly, just so you guys know. Because I've been following you for so long. When I hear someone say Cannell, I want to kind of jump in and be like, no, guys, you don't even know. But like you said, a lot of times it's unsolicited advice. So I wanted to put that to rest. Sean, you're an influencer. You've got, tons of subscribers. You have a lot of clout wherever you go. You're the type of guy where men want to be you. Women want to be next to you, and conference holders want to have you at their events. You are extremely consistent. Talk to us about the importance of consistency in gaining a following.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I appreciate you mentioning that. Yeah, I think that consistency is key for every business, every brand, every creator, and that honestly, consistency is what creates relevancy. I think if you're inconsistent, you're irrelevant, because the other thing consistency creates is trust. I mean, not to take it here to kind of a dramatic place, but the thing that pops in my mind generally is if we want influence in an individual's life, whether that's, say, like a parent, right? Maybe some of us, could bring up issues if a parent was not in our life showing up consistent. I do know that my parents split up when I was young, but he would have visitation with me. So every time he showed up to pick me up as a young child, how much influence did that, when he would show up on time. Yeah. So we just took it to kind of an emotional place there, but it's kind of the true with even your audience, that if you make a promise, like I'm here to help you with this particular problem, or I'm here to entertain, or I'm here to inspire, whether that's through Facebook, whatever it is, if you're not showing up consistently, then you're building a brand, you're building a reputation, and you're actually either building or losing trust with people. Okay. Anybody can say, I'm starting a show, I'm starting a podcast, I'm starting a YouTube channel. And yeah, life hits us. And I get it. Like, you've got competing things, and maybe it's a side hustle. But when it comes down to it, if you don't show up consistently, then you don't build trust. And if we're talking business, we do business with people we know, like, and trust.
Right.
And so when it comes to creating content, I think sometimes we give ourselves the excuse that we can survive without posting it, because we have to do the accounting. We got to finish our taxes on time, or we got to get an extension. Right. We have to fulfill on the products that have been ordered in our business. We have to do certain things, but sometimes content, we think, content marketing, putting some content, it might be all right if we do it, but I can't get it out this week. But I've kind of, and make an excuse for it. But I don't know if there's any excuse. I think it's just the cost of relevancy to keep showing up, to say, look, you can trust me. I'm going to be here for you once a week. Yeah. I'm going to keep showing up. And think about how that also influences everything else you do. If you say, I have a Tuesday show, or I'm going to be showing up weekly, and you don't, then why would I trust you to do other things in your business? Why would I trust your products are going to deliver on what you say? It kind of leads to integrity. It leads to building a reputation. A lot of times branding is actually just reputation. That guy's brand, like, think about Owen. Do you know somebody? Of course, don't say their name. But know anybody in your life where a friend or somebody or a family member, you're like, yeah, they're always late.
Yeah, he just logged in late. I might add. Absolutely.
So, yeah, they're always late. Well, I mean, it's kind of a bummer, because, by the way, I'm guilty of being late a lot of times, but that's a brand. Like, if you're the person in your family that's always late, they're like, hey, what are you known for? Well, I'm known for being always late. Brutal, right? But it's interesting. It's up to us to be shaping our brand, that, man, and they always show up. They're consistent. Right. And they show up with a consistent level of quality each time. They may be seen prepared, whatever it is. So I think that, the first thing is definitely that consistency is kind of a mindset and a value that we have to really plant a flag and say, this has to do with integrity in my business and around my brand.
I love how you said it's a mindset. It's a value. I've always been extremely consistent. Maybe you guys in the audience can relate to this. I've always been extremely consistent, but at the risk of, like, quality consistency, right? But when I first got started, I mean, I was live once a week all the time, but sometimes it was like a black curtain behind me. Sometimes it was like the fish tank was behind me. And sometimes, so I was consistent in my timing, but not consistent in the visual representation of my brand. And you mentioned quality. Do those things matter, showing up the same way every time?
Yeah, I think that besides consistency is in frequency, consistency in the product is important. And kind of makes me think too, if we're talking about branding and standing out in the marketplace, it makes me think of somewhere like Starbucks. Not only are they consistent as in they're open, you expect them to be there if you're going to go get a cup of coffee, but also they're obsessed with actually the cup of coffee you're getting be the same every time. Now, some people might like it or not. In fact, let us know in the comments. Do you drink Starbucks? If not, what brand do you drink? Tell us of coffee, or maybe you drink tea. But if I think about that, you go in and not only are they showing up with the same thing, coffee. I don't go to Starbucks for sushi. I don't go to Starbucks for my taxes. I don't go, you know what I mean? Like, that's the brand of what it is, but also then what you get is consistent as well. And so I think also as influencers, content creators, we should be thinking about that. If people show up for a couple weeks, like if I went to my local Starbucks here and I was like, man, this is pretty bad. I'll give them grace once though. Week number, actually I go more than once a week, right? You go another time. Oh man, this was a little tough. How many interactions, Owen, could I go to just be like, man, this is now, they keep showing up. Like they keep handing me the coffee, but it's inconsistent as to the quality of it. It's unpredictable. And so I know that's a big challenge. It's a tall order for us as content creators, but yeah, we don't want to just be showing up regularly, but showing up with a predictable value as much as possible. So people also go, man, every time, like a mentor of mine, Shalene Johnson, says, whenever you go live, she gave me this framework: be brief, be bright, be fun, and be done. I was like, okay. And eventually, then if you have a vision like that, you're like, all right, well, every time I'm going to try to show up, I'm going to be brief. I'm going to try to be bright, just be sharp for people, have some fun, and then land the plane and just do that every week. And then do that for the next 5 years. And I think that's the key of building momentum online.
Is there a game plan? Because I know you just threw out 5 years, right? Is there a game plan like that you start with? You say, I'm going to go live, on Facebook every Tuesday at 3 p.m., right? And I think we all start with this objective, right? I'm going to go live Tuesday at 3 p.m. But for how long, right? Is there a point at which you would recommend like do that for 90 days and test, or do that for a year and then look back? At what point do you start to look over your shoulder and say, is this working?
Yeah, it's probably hard to answer just generally, because for every individual, we'd want to look at their analytics and look at their data. But I would argue that the same amount of time experts encourage, they give data about small businesses, is probably the same way you should be thinking about building online influence. So what I mean is a lot of times they'll say, never, like if you start a business, it won't be profitable for 16 to 24 months.
Right.
Well, that's 2 years. And so the audacity that we would have as content creators to maybe start a new show and think that we could start something and then 2 weeks later or 4 weeks later being like, why isn't this working yet? Right. I think great things take time. I heard a story from even Gary Vaynerchuk when he talked about the early days of Wine Library TV. For anyone listening that doesn't know him, very famous now as a social media influencer. And one of the reasons he built that was he helped scale his dad's wine business from around $3 million a year to $60 million a year using free tools and social media, email marketing, and a few other things. And he mentioned that he did 50 episodes. He was doing 5 days a week of a show where he would sit down in front of a camera, talk about wine for 20 to 30 minutes. That it took him about 50 episodes to even find his rhythm and his voice. And it took him 12 months of showing up 5 days a week before anyone was watching. And I think that a lot of us these days, because we see what we end up, a lot of us, Owen, we compare our beginning to other people's middle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How many of you guys have got, because I don't want to cut you off, but I am, how many of you guys got stuck on that? Like you're looking at other people and you're sort of gauging your success based on where these other people at. Drop a yes or a no in the comment section right now. Because Sean, you and I just kind of talked about this one-on-one at the conference. So repeat that one more time. Your beginning is?
Yeah, we a lot of times compare our beginning to other people's middle. And that's actually a quote from John Acuff. Just never compare your beginning to somebody else's middle. So there is that initial startup time where that would be at least 12 months. Gary, if people who do know him might be shocked by that. They're like, wait a minute, the Gary who now is like all everywhere, he's getting millions of views. Yeah, he went a year before anyone was really paying attention, but he was showing up consistently, and he was bringing the energy to the show, and he was bringing the prep to the show, and he was showing up, and no one was on the other side. And I also think that also gives us an opportunity to sharpen our voice and get better, because sometimes the product that we start with it might not even be ready for the market yet. I would put it this way, Owen, that use your time in obscurity to prepare you for popularity.
Wow.
I think there's something about going live a couple times a week or going live once a week for a year and having it have less to do with even the people you're trying to impact and more to do with your own shaping your voice, practicing, testing, kind of treating it like beta, and realizing that, like, again, nobody went to the NBA playoffs by skipping practice or not playing through a lot of lower level games. Whatever, all of us have to have cut our teeth practicing, learning. And so, yeah, I really think that sometimes social media gives us the allure of overnight success, gives us the allure of like these businesses just popped up out of nowhere, or someone started streaming, they got 1 million subscribers, but like, we just know that ultimately is never true. And even those that have that breakthrough moment, a lot of times overnight success takes 10 years. We don't know what they've been doing, honing, sharpening their skills, practicing, failing a lot, making a lot of mistakes before they ever show up in our feed, seeming like they have it all together when really they just have been messing up for a long time and have finally dialed a few things in.
So much of what you just said is so important. And if Sean is making you think, drop a hashtag think in the comment section whenever you hear a nugget from I'm taking notes myself because I'm hearing some things that I really, really love. So drop a hashtag think when you hear Sean say something that makes you think. You talked about, from obscurity into popularity, right? Like using this time to just practice, to just dial in your ability to stream and to do these things. What are the things we should be practicing while we're in obscurity?
I like that. I think that for sure, number one would be communication. That's kind of broad. But if we think about what we do, what you do, what I do, ultimately, we're actually just communicators.
Right.
Now, video happens to be the medium, but communication is what's needed. We're trying to get a message across for a brand, for a business, for a product, for awareness. And it could be on a stage, at a workshop. It could be on a podcast. It could be on video. So studying communication and practicing communication has been a huge part of my journey. So much so that I remember when I got on eBay and bought this 12 CD back when there was CDs. Are there still CDs? And you could buy a car these days. There's not even a CD player. It just assumes you have Bluetooth, And so I like this 12 CDs on communication, studying great communicators, studying structure, like thinking beginning, middle, and end. That's storytelling. But ultimately that is a level under communication. Right. So we want to grow as communicators. I remember I used to go to local Toastmasters and Chamber of Commerce events in my city when I was trying to build my small business, Clear Vision Media, in 2009. But half the reason I was there was hoping to generate business, but also hoping to just sharpen my skills, sharpen my social skills, sharpen networking, get in front of people. It's really awkward. It's really scary. Every single one of those unseen moments were the kinds of moments that shaped who I was today. I think also my history is very much in the church environment. Yep. And I would communicate from the platform, announcements, transitions from the music into the message and different things. And again, scary, awkward moments, stumbling, forgetting what you're going to say, deer in headlights. Every single one of those things have been part of the process and part of the journey. So it's interesting though, as far as practical takeaways for people listening, how can you sharpen your communication? And that's not necessarily just by going live. How can you put yourselves in even seemingly non-online type of environments that could very much strengthen what you're doing online?
Yeah, good. That reinforces those skill sets, because it's kind of like, your online presentation, your live stream is that finished product, but it's built on a foundation of other skill sets. I know I'm kind of going blurry in and out right here, but bear with us, guys. I went to a ton of these chamber meetings, and I went to a ton of these Toastmaster meetings. And even when I didn't want to, because I talk so fast, I slur sometimes. That's how fast I'm talking, and it taught me to get self-paced. Even this, guys, I'll tell you this: standing still and not wiggling. Right? I used to kind of do this thing like, "Hey, everybody, I'm live," and it was so distracting. And just getting to a place where I was comfortable standing still and not moving. How many of you guys can relate to that? Maybe you wiggle a little bit too much on camera and it's distracting, or maybe you wiggle, you're uncomfortable when you're one-on-one talking to people. These are great skills that you could be developing. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Sean Cannell, Think Media TV, video influencers, 800,000 subscribers across his YouTube channel. And we're talking about being consistent online. I got a fly. I've got a buzzing fly that I swear it's going to drive me insane. If you guys see me go cuckoo, it's because this fly is driving me nuts. Sean, let's go to the comment section real quick, because Ross Brand is saying, yes, use the time when you have a small audience to build your skills and find the right content for your brand and personality. And Ross, you are crushing it with your Alexa series. I just freaking love it so much. Joey Battalier is saying, hey, I can totally relate to comparing. For over a year now, I've done a consistent weekly live show. It used to be just a show interviewing business owners. Now I'm trying to find a purpose and a mission for the show that's more specific than just interviewing experts. You know, that's a great question, Sean. Like when we talk about having something bigger than just a live show, is that an important thing? Is it more than just going live? Is there a message or a mission that you need to be incorporating? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that you can get away without having one, but when you look at the most influential individuals and movements, there is always a higher mission, a higher purpose for people to rally around than say something that's at a lower level. So you could get away with just saying a weekly show with the best tips to help you learn the latest things in your industry, and that could actually have moderate success. But when we look at movements, when we look at those who moved thousands of people, that created things that shaped history and shaped culture, there was always greater depth and meaning there that people could rally behind. So I would say for Joey, I think he's right on track. I think that it's just a matter of maybe going a little bit deeper and thinking, what else can people rally behind? Because on the one hand, we could set a goal like, hey, we're just going to help you make a little bit. This is actually a reason why our vision statement on video influencers, I'll tell you this illustrates it perfectly, Owen, is when we started video influencers 3 years ago, every single video, and people can go back and watch them, and we said, this channel is all about helping you build your influence and your income with online video. Every episode, we'd say that. And so, hey, how do you build your influence? How do you get followers? And then how do you build income? How do you make some money? And it was a pretty good first year. And honestly, after about 12 months, I was journaling, I was in reflection, and I was like, we're missing something. And now we talk about helping you build your influence, income, and impact with online video. And it was the impact piece. And for an entire year, we just said the first two. And then I was like, whoa, no, our tagline, our vision statement is it's incomplete, because the impact is that we actually want to make a difference. Like just getting fame or just getting fortune is unto itself is not greater enough meaning. So impact would mean impacting the world, whether with the causes that we care about. So we started to then begin to wrapping causes into, say, our business. For one, that is, we partner with like Compassion International, which is sponsoring kids. So of course there's that kind of impact, but then also the level of impact would be things like there is an online video revolution happening right now. There really is. That all of these new tools and BeLive and Facebook Live and all of these new things that are happening are changing people's lives. And that in a lot of time, in one sense, it's kind of like a gold rush that was in California, where people were moving their families. They were, buying equipment. They saw it like, well, this is a moment of time. This is a window into history. And I need to maximize this, because this could be the kind of thing that changes generations to come. That takes my business, multiplies it by 10 or 100x. That allows me to take the message of my nonprofit and reach around the world and to touch people I wasn't able to touch. So we started to go deeper in our meaning. We started on kind of surface level tips, but we thought, oh no, there is a deeper level of a mission that we need to try to communicate, tap into. And as we did that, Owen, I would say it has a direct correlation to how much we grew, because people now were rallying more behind a mission and a cause, and not just behind some good information.
That, and you bring up a great point about what people can get behind. I know when I first started watching you, it was all three: influence, income, and impact. And that's how I immediately identified that this channel was for me, right? Is Sean's talking directly to me, and I knew it because of those values that you vocally sort of brought forth in every episode. We're getting a question here from Brian Rodriguez, who asks, what else can people rally behind? So, Sean, maybe you could help us explore how to find these values in our shows.
So here's a practical, actionable tip. Identify the enemy that you're actually fighting against. And this, everybody listening can do this, and it'll 10x your clarity on your mission. So one of the greatest ways to actually clarify what you're fighting for, to get what people to rally behind, is what are you fighting against? Martin Luther King, who's fighting against racism and not all people being treated equal. One of the things we fight against in our brand is actually the traditional kind of 9-to-5. We believe that fundamentally the internet, online video, low-cost technology has changed the world. And therefore, you no longer have to necessarily play the same game that your parents or our parents told us we had to play. So we fight against, not that there's inherently anything wrong with the 9-to-5, but it's the 9-to-5 mindset, the traditional path of careers. Since that is now no longer has to be relevant for everybody, it's something we can be against. And I've heard other brands, there's a brand called Screw the 9-to-5.
Yes.
That is their title. And it's actually clear kind of what they're for because of what they're fighting against. And so everybody listening, in fact, let us know in the comments, if you really want something, identify who your enemies are. And your enemy could be, again, it's usually not a person. Think about this. Some of the best commercials made, if you're going to market cleaning solution for your house, a Swiffer or something, what do? Have you ever seen it? They turn the germs into like these guys with swords and hats. And it's like, we've all seen this commercial. And the germs and the sickness and the filth around your house is like this army that's turned into cartoons. And Mr. Clean is the hero that will defeat that army. Why? That's the villain. The villain is dirt. So the villain could be anything, but everybody listening needs to know the villain or villains that they are fighting against. That'll help your marketing and your clarity. And then people will rally with you to say, I'm against that villain as well.
That's huge, man. And I would love to hear you guys answer in the comments, who is your villain, or what is your villain? And we're going to go to some of the comments. Dan Norton is saying, I'm looking for a co-taught course about live streaming from Owen and Sean. We'll call it ThinkTube Academy. And
yes.
Every week, Dan Norton comes up with another course that I should make. It's always Tube Academy something. So Dan, we appreciate you being here, and honestly, the humor and the fun you bring to the live stream conversation. Joey is saying, yes, love this conversation. I think you both know there's a lot of noise in these live streaming interviews. Well, that's what I'm saying, fool. We try to bring the pain in every single episode. I don't ever want to fill it up with fluff. We got Sean Cannell on the show. We want to keep every single moment chocked with great content. So Barb Ireland is saying, I do lives for my paparazzi business, but I'm starting my own movement against aging. More than likely, my first live will be solo before I find people to interview. Is it okay to go solo for a while? Sean, your thoughts on that?
I think absolutely. I think to encourage Barb as well as others, I think that we need to give ourselves more freedom to experiment more.
Freedom.
So I love Barb saying, there could be the show of having guests and having interviews, but you could have the idea of going solo. What I mean, though, is if someone's going to launch a TV show, so if you're early on in your live streaming game, if a network wants to launch a TV show, they do what's called the pilot. We all know this, right? They spend actually some money, they spend time, they get characters, they do a pilot. And a lot of times what they'll actually do is make 10 pilots, and all they are is tests, they're experiments, hoping to make one show that catches on and becomes the actual thing. I think too many people try to they haven't gone live at all or only a couple times, and they want total clarity as to what their final product's going to be, what it's going to be about, what the rhythm's going to be about. I think that step one in almost any scenario is actually start as quick as possible with pilots, with beta, with experiments. So go solo. Go solo, maybe trying with props. Go solo with note cards that have the points. Go solo if you can share your screen, and then get feedback. Because early on, if these things are just pilots, they're just experiments, then look back over 3 months or 6 months. You've interviewed a few guests, you've done a few surveys. Now you might have clarity, like these 8 things didn't work, but this is the thing that does work. And we learn by doing. So we learn by watching great content like yours, Owens, with the tips and the strategies, but also by taking massive action. And so a lot of times our clarity will come 3 to 6 months later after being just kind of consistent, but giving ourselves more grace to just like, again, I'm just experimenting. I kind of want to vibe with people. I want to test some content formats, and also not being so too narrow too soon. Every time we flip the camera on, it's kind of a blank canvas. You could do a Q&A show. You could have sound effects like you do. You could have, you could go walk and talk and bring people, you know what I mean? There's like almost a blank slate if we give ourselves permission, that I think we should use to be a little bit more creative and experimental on the journey towards dialing in what our, say, weekly show will eventually become.
That is so huge, guys. And I want you to drop a think, hashtag think in the comments section right now. That was massive, Sean, what you just said there. And of course, I pull out my Barry shades, right? Because I've got a whole box of props underneath here. And I think one of the big things that even I'm working on, right? And I'm a big star, guys. I'm huge. I'm, of course, kidding. I'm huge in Japan. Is you kind of get stuck in your ways, right? It's like, I've been doing all this how-to content for YouTube, but what I really want to do is X, Y, Z. And you guys are going to see some of that on my show. Not getting stuck in what you've been doing and allowing yourself the freedom to experiment and create. It's like, I always think of Jurassic Park, right? The raptors, they would test the fence for weaknesses systematically, and they would never attack the same place twice, right? Use that in your live streams, in your YouTube videos, to really dial in the content that works for you. Assad Youssef is saying think. Brian Rodriguez is saying think. Kathy Spazey is saying think. Now, John Piper, first of all, now I got started in the church scene just as you did, Sean. We made a couple of skits, sermon illustrations. And so when I see that John Piper is watching us in the comments section, part of me says hallelujah. Of course, that's a church name some of you guys might know. We've got some good questions. Let's workshop this a little bit. Kathy Spazey, she does health and fitness. She's saying, good question. Who is my villain? And then Shamis Talib is saying the same question. So we're going to do you in a second. Let's workshop that. Kathy Spazey is doing health and wellness. Who's her enemy, Sean?
So a lot of villains that could show up in that area, and it's really good to rally, maybe not around multiple at once, but here's some ideas. SAD could be one of your villains. What's SAD? The standard American diet.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
And so as we maybe process foods, or and honestly, when movements get stronger and when people can rally more is actually when we take a greater strand and get more to one of the polar opposites. I think a lot of us are afraid because if we go extreme, we will create enemies, but that's where the magic is.
Yeah.
And we want to go, so meaning the extreme, it's not just like that processed foods are just like, oh, it's no big deal. You want to be like, no, they're destroying lives.
Yes.
Like there is a crisis in America or wherever you are, and processed foods are the enemy, plus the mentality, the propaganda that is being pushed by the big beef companies or whatever, and information you could probably pull out of some Netflix documentaries. Yeah, right. Therefore, how can, I want you to educate you and give you the tools to be healthy in the midst of being attacked from all sides from the propaganda and the processed food. So that'd be one angle.
That's huge. Fantastic. And then we've got, am I saying it right? Shamis. She says, I provide credit repair. So my enemy would be who or what? Your thoughts?
So So same thing there. It might be financial illiteracy could be the enemy. That so you start thinking, you start a video. If you had a Facebook ad or it's just some kind of video, you could say, or you start a live stream. Did you know that the average American? So here's another one. Debt would be an enemy. Debt is the enemy. Who's done this well? Dave Ramsey has done this incredibly well. So Dave Ramsey has Financial Peace University. His enemy is debt. You go through his university at the end, you do the debt shout or whatever it is, scream, and they created this victory triumph over the enemy. Oh. When you get here, you shout, and now when people, they're like, that's what winning looks like. I know I need to be disciplined, go through this training, get my whole family unified, but the debt-free scream or shout or whatever it is, we're gonna get there because debt is the enemy. Financial illiteracy could be the enemy, or and then also agitating things like with credit, like your life could be very limited. Unfortunately, it's true. Yeah. It's actually funny because as entrepreneurs, I just think like it was really we're crushing it in our business, but we don't have, and we do have credit, but it's all been self-funded or whatever. We haven't taken on any VCs,
scrapping and whatnot.
Yeah, and so but sometimes it's hard to, like, you need credit and culture to buy things. And because we don't have traditional jobs, that's like weird for us. So anyways, like looking at the state, how do you thrive in 2018 and beyond when those are what's needed and for your family and things like that. So limitations, you could even go like, so debt is a very good enemy. Limitations is a good enemy. Like there's limiting factors to your life. So
helping you live an unlimited life, right?
Yeah.
Where everything's available to you because you can charge it, right? And of course I'm teasing, dropping mad knowledge bombs on BeLive Weekly, folks. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Sean Cannell, YouTube super influencer, talking about consistency and content to build your brand. Folks, we're running out of time here. You're asking such great questions. So maybe we'll be able to answer some of these questions in the comment area. Sean, you talk about content being king, but that phraseology is even under attack right now. We're hearing, it's actually content is queen and all these cute little bumper stickers. What do you mean when you say content is king, and do you stand by that statement?
Yeah, I still stand by it. I still think that you put out great training, I put out training, and we help people like figure out how to do titles, and we help people with even email marketing, or we help people with paid ads. And there's all these things. Those are good tactics and even strategies, but all of those things they come after the content itself. At the end of the day, probably the best way to put it is the best marketing in the world will only help a bad product fail faster.
Ooh, wow.
Right?
Hashtag.
So there you go. So great marketing, and Seth Godin, New York Times bestselling author, did a lot to expose the fact that sometimes older organizations failed at this point where they would say, we're going to create the product, whatever that is, whether that's the coaching or the book you're going to write or the actual physical product. And then when we're done with it, we're going to just send it to the marketing department and be like, hey, guys, make this successful. And then the marketing department could get it and be like, but wait a minute, the product actually sucks. Like, we don't even want to market this, or there's things wrong with it. Could we have been involved in the conversation? That's what's actually funny, is it's almost like marketing comes before content, or content comes before marketing. It's this loop, because again, the best marketing in the world will only help a bad product fail faster. So The best tactics on a YouTube show or a Facebook Live show can help you reach a few more people. And once they watch the substance, the content, they'll only decide they don't want to watch it anymore sooner. You got in front of them, but they potentially would come to that conclusion. So it still comes back to, if we're talking about content marketing, content has to be one of these things, if not multiple at one time. It has to be informational or educational or motivational or inspirational or communal. It develops community, and it has to be either one of those for sure. If it's none of those things, if someone's like, I wasn't motivated, I wasn't inspired, I got no info, I didn't get any news or data or stats, I didn't get any value out of it, and I didn't serve to help build any bridges, or, if you don't check one of those boxes, then you could spend $1 million on Facebook ads getting that in front of a whole bunch of people, and they would just go, okay, why am I seeing this? And maybe say, don't show me this ad anymore, or don't show me this video anymore.
Yes, and we see that so much. And Jason Franco of contentmarketers.net, he's asking what his enemy should be. And I think that Sean just nailed it right there, right? It's these videos in your news feed that are just like, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, right? Without any sense of relationship. Now, Sean, you mentioned a few different types of content. I actually learned a similar lesson from Tim Schmoyer, and I started doing all of those things in every video, right? I'm going to build community and be inspirational. That didn't work for me. Are you saying that those things, those types of content should be like each video should be one of those things? Or do you want to try to jam pack all of those things into each video?
Yeah, more towards what you said, number one. I think you can have a couple, but like you said, having all of them might just kind of be too much, meaning every time you put out a piece of content, it should have a particular purpose and basically a sole purpose.
Yeah.
One sole purpose and with maybe a little bit of a secondary purpose on there. So for instance, there's no reason in 2018, we've heard the term edutainment.
Yeah.
That's entertainment, or that's education that is entertaining. That's just always going to be a winning goal. Like, the purpose of the video is maybe teach the audience something. It is important to know that's the primary purpose. And this is a great question. Here's the question to ask. When someone's done with this video, what do you want to have happened?
Yes. Good.
Are they like, do you want them to be like, that was so funny, they have to tell somebody about it? Or do you want them to be like, I didn't know how to install that WordPress plugin. Man, I've been banging my head against the wall. By the end of the video, they know how to install the WordPress plugin. I wasn't sure everything that was announced at the most recent Facebook conference. I watched your video. I got the highlights of the most recent Facebook conference. Like, getting people to the goal of what they want. If you can be entertaining as well, that's just going to enhance that.
Yes.
And then the reverse is true, is that if you could be entertaining, like, this video just needs to be like, wow, I hope it goes viral. I hope it's super entertaining. Maybe someone learns something as well. And it could be reversed. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be entertaining. Almost anybody could get a lot out of it. But there's a couple of nuggets in there too. I never knew that much about water filters. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And so definitely a primary purpose. And then it can just be enhanced if there's some entertainment or it's inspiring as well.
I think, yeah, and you guys got to watch out for stuffing your video with share this and like this and comment on this. You're like asking everybody for everything, right? And a lot of times I think you can ask for comments without saying, hey, share a comment with me, right? You could ask a question just as we've been doing. Or you say, hey, if you hear something that you like, put #think in the comment section. And that way you've got, this ongoing conversation that you're enjoying with your audience, just as we have enjoyed this conversation with you, Sean. Thanks so much for being here. How do we stay in touch with you?
Thanks so much for having me. I think the best way to do it is just go to YouTube and type in the words Think Media. And that channel is the best tips and tools for building your influence with online video. A lot of camera reviews, gear reviews. I saw somebody ask about the lighting. This is some specular lighting. It is a triangle, Owen. Look at that.
Bomb. That's bomb.com right there.
It's a triangle light, meaning it's actually modular, so you can turn that into anything you want. But anyway, so we talk about a lot of gear over on Think Media. And then we have, if you go to YouTube and type in video influencers, we have a weekly interview show with people that are building their influence with video. Heavily focused on YouTube, but definitely other platforms as well.
Well, we put those links in the comment section, folks. So go to the pinned comment. You can go check out Sean's show. Highly recommend that you follow this guy. You will learn so much, and you'll see his breadth of knowledge as well, which will help to make you grow your Facebook Live show. Type 5 in the comment section now to subscribe.
BeLive Weekly with Owen Video. If you enjoyed the show, then share this video on your timeline right now.
Just do it.
To see past episodes or get alerts for new episodes, type 5 in the comment section now. And join us next week with new tips to help you grow your Facebook Live show.